There's a general Kemi Badenoch problem that Downing Street have, which is she is becoming more and more powerful. She can say whatever she likes. They find it very hard to contradict her because she's got a lot of supporters. But you would think on this issue of, what someone said about black women, they would check with Kemi Badenoch. So the Tory party's largest donor, a guy called Frank Hester, who is new. I don't think I've ever come across him, and I came across most of the Tory donors back in the day. He gave the Tory party £10 million, but it's emerged that a few years ago he said some pretty horrific things about Diane Abbott. He said that he hated Diane Abbott so much it made you hate all black women, and he wished that she was shot, which obviously is racist, violent, extremist, and so on. So it's caused a massive row, but let's just pick up, first of all, as you say, it's totally taken the wind from the sails of those who wanted to use extremism as a kind of wedge issue against Labour, as you found, presumably, when you were questioning Michael Gove on Good Morning Britain.
Well, exactly. I mean, I said he was sensible and consensual around the extremism, but of course, it's very hard for that not to be the case when he's also, first of all, having to answer questions about what this donor said. And, Susanna Reid basically established with Michael that what was said was racist and extreme and intolerant.
Falls into the definition of the extremism rules. And that's the kind of paradox, isn't it? So the Tories are saying we're not going to give money to extremists whilst taking money from someone who appears by their own definition to be an extremist.
Well, exactly. I mean, you've rather taken my point away there, because that was the question I asked to Michael. I said to Michael, let's just be clear. This definition of extremism is the thing which will prevent the government giving money to these organisations. And simultaneously, you've taken money from an individual who also essentially passes that extremist threshold, and you're not giving it back. And there's a bit of an inconsistency there. I mean, if you are not going to give it out, why are you willing to take it and not give it back? I think Chris Patten, the former Conservative chair, said this is an open and shut case. They should give the money back. Yeah. And I'm afraid the defence, he's apologised. I mean, he may have apologised, but it doesn't stop it being racist. And his apology is he's caused offence. I'm not sure he's quite yet admitted the full horror of what he said.
So this reminds me of the case we were looking at a couple of weeks ago with Lee Anderson, where you start with a kind of line to take. If you remember, Lee Anderson had said that Sadiq Khan was in the kind of cahoots with the Islamists in London. And, you start with a line to take, and we played some clips of junior ministers struggling with it. So they start, the Tories, with a line to take, which is, well, what Frank Hester said was wrong, but it wasn't racist. But given that Hester had said he made him hate all black women, it was clearly race and gender based. And what struck me is why in Downing Street they didn't think a couple of things. We're not going to be able to hold this line. And if we are going to at least attempt to hold this line, why don't we go and talk to the black woman who is in the cabinet, and by the way, favourite to be the next Conservative Party leader, Kemi Badenoch, and see if she agrees with our line. But they appear not to have consulted her.
And then on Twitter, she said in the afternoon, it's racist. Yes. And I interviewed Graham Stewart that morning. He's kind of, I said to him, Graham, you're a straight talker. It's racist, isn't it? And let's just say that his answer was not an exemplar of straight talking, totally exposed, put in an impossible position as a junior minister by a ridiculous line, which is then blown up by your own business secretary in the middle of the afternoon. Downing Street had to say it was racist by the end of the day. Of course they did, because what were they going to do? Contradict Kemi Badenoch?
Well, there's a general Kemi Badenoch problem that Downing Street have, which is she is becoming more and more powerful. She can say whatever she likes. They find it very hard to contradict her because she's got a lot of supporters. But you would think on this issue of what someone said about black women, they would check with Kemi Badenoch.